success, you know, and that makes it even harder for the fans and the community and the players here to accept, you know, what's going on here. You know, it's been, like you said, a long time. And it can be done. Other teams are showing that it can be done. You can have that immediate success. And that's what I'm saying. The Glazers need to start from the top, and they just need to infuse some good talent, some good coaches, some life into this team, into this community, and it can be done.
You came on my radio show and you said, boy, if you were playing today and you were a defensive lineman and Josh Freeman was on the other side, you would be able to have your way with him. And you kind of were alluding to the mental state. He's now in Minnesota. Right. Who knows? He had a really bad showing on that Monday night. Yeah. You had some strong opinions on Josh Freeman. Whether or not he's a good guy, it didn't work out here. Yeah. Do you think he can ever be a success in the NFL, Cheetah?
I definitely think he can be a success. I mean, the kid has physical talent, okay? And he's shown that he can be a success. What was it, 2010? Yeah. I believe he had a stellar season. There's a lot of intangibles that need some work. And I've been hard on – I'm hard on myself, you know. So I'm from the school of tough love, from my mom to my grandma. So if I come off like that, that's all I know. I know how to and being around Warren Sapp, you know, we call spade a spade. You know, people like Culpepper, you know, Rod Marinelli, that's all I know. So people, my intent is I honestly hope that the kid grows and matures. That's what I hope. I hope the best for him. But I just feel like there's some things, some glaring things in his life that he really needs to own up to, be accountable. And I don't believe he's done that.
Now, I got to tell you, the Buccaneers put all their eggs in that one basket. How many times did we hear number five, franchise quarterback, you go with him? We all remember what happened at the draft. There it is. Remember that day. Raheem Morris, all smiles. You got number 5, your franchise quarterback, and Mark Dominic. And we also know now Greg Schiano, second year, Buccaneers have not won. Glazers have spent the money. I'm going to start with you guys. They're bad. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Who do you think is to blame for where the Bucs are right now, Jenna?
I think you know, just like when you look at a marriage, you know, it's usually not one person's fault for the reasons why, you know, marriages end in divorce. It's usually more than one person. It takes two to tango. And I think in this situation, you know, you had a young general manager, a first-time general manager in Mark Dominic. He did make some mistakes early on. Maybe one of those mistakes was the fact that he was, you know, very quickly anointed Josh Freeman as a franchise quarterback. Freeman didn't really have anyone to show him the ropes. I mean, he had Byron Leftwich, but well, that didn't last very long. They had Josh Johnson in there, and then all of a sudden Freeman is thrust in there when, you know, he really had to kind of learn on the fly. And, you know, ultimately that could have marred his development. Although I would say that, you know, nowadays that's kind of the expectation of these rookie quarterbacks. But, you know, then of course, you know, ownership, you look at the situation there, you know, when they brought Raheem Morris in, they did not give him the opportunity to pick his coaching staff, being a first-time head coach. I think they kind of learned from that a little bit, that maybe that wasn't the best decision there. You know, you didn't have that, you know, cohesiveness of an organization, and I think that hurt them as well there. So, you know, there's a number of different things that have kind of, you know, Raheem obviously not keeping his staff accountable, and then that, you know, has kind of trickled into Greg Schiano and, you know, kind of the disconnect there between Schiano and Freeman. And
I look at this one way. This team, I predicted coming into year 6-10 because I didn't think they had a lot of talent. And who's in charge of the talent? General manager's in charge of the talent. I didn't think Josh Freeman had a particularly such a bad year that you blow him out of here, but obviously he hasn't worked out. You look back at the 2009 draft, none of those guys are left. No, he's drafted well lately, but you're asking me where this team fails? I don't think it's because of the head coach. I don't think it's because the quarterback didn't pan out. I think overall they have a lack of talent. And the guy in charge of the talent is Mark Dominic.
8 Pro Bowlers, though. They do have 8 Pro Bowlers, Tom.
Yeah, that's why I would disagree a little bit. You know, exactly. But this team has talent. Mark Dominic, his first 2 years, general manager, I'd give him an F. Last 2, I'd give him an A. Average, probably a C. But when you look at where it fell, you remember Youngry? We're going to be young and hungry. Right. And you know what young and hungry got you? No leaders. And think about when they went young. Ever since they went young in this organization, who's been the leader? Who's been the Derek Brooks? Who's been the guy that's going to step up in front of this team, in front of this community, and settle everybody down? They don't have that guy. Even on this team right now, who's the leader? Not the guy with the C on his chest, but who's the leader of the team? And I think that's what you miss. And so where did it start to go wrong? Youngry. We're going to be young and hungry. They got Raheem fired. They got Shiano in here. And they got this team void of leadership. So I think that's where it all started.
How about the Glazers, though? I mean, there were couple years there that they didn't spend any money. So it's hard to come back up.
I think what happened when they didn't spend the money, they were coming off that year where they went 10-6, and I thought, and that was fool's gold, by the way, because I don't think they were nearly as good as 10-6. But I think they went in that next season thinking like, hey, we can win. Same thing Booger said. We're young, we have talent, we can win with Josh Freeman as our quarterback. We're on our way, and they really weren't. I think, yeah, sure, are the Glazers partly to blame for this? Absolutely. They're the ones that hired Mark Dominic. They're the ones that hired Greg Schiano.
But I think that, going back to that, I think that the Glazers recognize that they made a mistake by not acquiring free agents when they had the opportunity to. And that, I think, is why you saw them go out and spend the money on Vincent Jackson, Carl Nix, Eric Wright, although that didn't pan out. But going out and getting those guys and then, doing that again last year with Darrelle Revis, Deshaun Goldson. So they recognize that they made some mistakes there. But backing up just a little bit, I'm having a really hard time putting this on Mark Dominic, especially because of what he's done in the last 2 drafts.
I understand what you're saying. He's drafted well. They've got Levante David. I'm not sold on Mark Barron quite yet. Doug Martin, they're going to beat this guy into the ground.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, you see how many hits he's taken. Right. I just think, again, maybe I'm the only one, but did anybody think this was a playoff team coming in? I didn't.
Well, here's the reason why I say talent-wise. They had a lot of talent. When you look at, let's take a look at it on paper. Offensive line, if you got Joseph and you got Nix, probably the best pair of guards in football when they're healthy. Donald Penn, he's been to a Pro Bowl at tackle, the right tackle. You can hide that position. Pro Bowl running back, couple of wide receivers. Defensively, McCoy, you get Bowers to step up. Let's think how we were thinking before the season started. 8, 9, 10 wins. That minimum. That's what I was thinking. Because they have talent.
6, And the only reason I had him at 6, and I know what you're saying, but after McCoy, I wasn't convinced on anybody up front. I was still worried about after Levante David. I was still not sure whether Darrelle Revis could play at this. To me, there were some questions.
Well, the thing is, they're 0-8. We're all wrong, right? right? We're going to move on. There's new rules in the NFL. Some call it flag football. You got that concussion lawsuit. And I understand the NFL is trying to do their best with safety. We'll hit on Cheetah Johnson, his take on that and the rules, and our panelists. Thanks so much. We're rolling on. This is the Press Box every Monday night, 11 p.m. till midnight on Bright House Sports Network. Come on back with us. Welcome back to the Press Box. We welcome back in former Buccaneer defensive end, Cheetah Johnson. And Cheetah, I was reading Deadspin, and boy, they did a big feature on you. I think there was close to 4,500 retired NFL players that have joined this lawsuit against the NFL concerning concussions. My first question to you is, why did you join? Because I'll be devil's advocate and say, Cheetah, you played football a long time. You know it's a contact sport. You knew what you're getting into, and it was your choice. So why did you choose to get involved, Cheetah?
You said a key word there is that we knew what we were getting involved in. That's the key. That's the crux of the matter. We didn't know what we were getting involved with because they withheld some information from us. They withheld information about what blows to the brain, to the head, does to the brain. They withheld information about the equipment they were wearing, how safe the helmets are. That's the crux of the matter. And there's people out there that still say, it's common sense. You think you can bang your head on a wall and not suffer any consequences. But the problem is, Rock, no one laid those consequences out for us players. Now you walk in the locker rooms and it's spelled out on the boards. They got a big poster there that lists it out. What can happen to you, and we didn't have that. And that's the basic why I got in. I'm 43 now, and I've been around the CTE, debate and the CTE issue that's going on. And I was friends with Dave Duerson, friends with Junior Seau, and teammates in Miami Dolphins before I came back here.
And just for our viewers, Dave Duerson committed suicide. Yes. and Junior Seau, Chargers, committed suicide. But go ahead, Junior.
So for me personally, you asked me personally, it was close to home. It's close to home, and seeing those guys and knowing what kind of men they are, that scared me, you know, because there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I hadn't seen Junior since 2005, 2004 when I was on the Dolphins, but up to that point, you know, I played at Cal, I played at Berkeley, he was at USC, so I've been around the Junior Seau deal for a long time. And to know that this CTE could claim a man like himself, the CTE can claim a man like Dave Duerson. I was with Dave Duerson a week before, 2 weeks before this thing happened, and it's scary. It's scary, and you want to ensure your future. This whole brain topic is new, and we're just scratching the surface of it. And I believe the whole lawsuit that's going on is akin to a kind of a workers' comp battle, and I think players should be compensated for that, and especially for the health care and longevity.
That's what I was going to ask you then. Yeah. Bottom line, what are you hoping comes out of it?
Yeah. What I hope comes out of it is that if there's any financial compensation for players, that we all get as much as we can get. Okay, whatever. I believe that's fair, Rock. I believe that's fair, because if a judge says this has a certain value, and shame on you, NFL, and shame on you, Riedel Helmets, because I'm part of the Riedel Helmets lawsuit as well, which people don't talk about, but that's another thing that's going on. I think that's a if a judge says that's what the compensation should be, I feel like that's fair, because we have been defrauded. I believe that, honestly, to my heart. I believe that we've been defrauded, and it was all in the name of making a buck.
All right, Cheetah, we're going to get to our panelists. We thank you so much, man. It's been an honor to have you here for our first show.
Thank you, Rock.
The great Cheetah Johnson, too. When we come back, we'll talk to our panelists. Keep it right here. This is the Press Box on Right Out Sports Network. And welcome back to the Press Box. I'm Rock Roddy. We have our panelists. Let's welcome back. We have Tom Jones, Tampa Bay Times, 620 WDAE, Booger McFarland, former Buccaneer, Colt, but also 98.7 The Fan on Afternoon Drive with Rich Herrera, and Jenna Laine from SportsTalkFlorida.com. You heard Cheetah. He said, we didn't know. And he thinks the former players should get as much money, man, as they can get. What do you think, Tom?
You know what? Here's why I feel bad for the players, and whether they should have known or not known, and that's up for debate. But here's what I do know, that if you're a young kid and you're coming out and you're playing high school football and you're really good at it, and somebody says, here's a college education and you can go play college football, of course you're going to do it. And then you get really good in college and you go in and somebody says, hey, I'm going to pay you millions of dollars to come play in the NFL. Of course you're going to do it. But I do not, and I never played. Booger, you played. Mm-hmm. And my guess is there were times during your career where you were injured and somebody said to you, Booger, you can go, right? You can get back in there, can't you? And they needed you back in there, and you went back in there because you were afraid if you didn't, you were going to lose your job. And for that, and for a league that's making billions of dollars a year, yeah, I think guys are ex-players, and I'm not just saying this because Booger's sitting next to me. I think they deserve the money for what they've put their body and what they've put their future health through.
Booger?
Well, Rock, for me, I played in a different time than Cheetah. Our careers overlapped a little bit, but I came in 1999, and we all knew by then the choices and the decisions and the consequences. And I always ask the question like this: when they give you an opportunity to play a child's game and make a king's ransom, we all make that same choice at the time and we go do it. Why? Because we can set our careers and our families up for the rest of their life. And so guys make the choices knowing that that could happen, knowing that that may happen, but I'm going to take the short-term success monetarily rather than worry about the long-term decisions that I make. Is football a dangerous game? Yeah, it's a collision sport, Rock. It's a collision sport that's played violently, and that's the only way to play it. So it's dangerous. We recognize the decisions, we recognize the consequences, but for guys who played before me, when I got in the league in 1999, who did not know, those guys are worried about their health care. Those guys are worried about insurance and things of that nature. So I agree. The NFL is a $9 billion company. there's enough money to go around. So I agree that these guys should be helped out.
And I don't think these guys are looking to get rich. I think they're just looking to be taken care of and looking to make sure that they're able to get through a day with the medication that they need and to live a somewhat normal life. I think Cheetah Johnson is looking to set up a beach house somewhere. You know?
And you know what? I've talked to some of these guys off the record about some of the issues that they're dealing with, and some of these issues that I'm hearing about, you know, and they're not. A lot of them aren't going to go public with it because, I mean, there still is the male ego that's involved.
Pride, right.
But depression, I mean, you hear about that. You hear about migraines. Guys have mood swings, things like that. I mean, I've heard stories of guys more than one time, a former player driving home and forgetting where he was going. You know, Brett Favre recently in a radio interview had said that he forgot, you know, one of his children was playing soccer one summer. Now, that just might seem minor to some folks. You know, some folks can't even keep track of their children's names, Mr. Cromartie. But, you know, aside from all that, I really think, though, that, you know, I liken this to what the coal miners are dealing with the whole black lung situation. You know, I guess it's a little easier to pinpoint the damage that they incurred from that because you can x-ray the lungs. You can't exactly do that with the brain in this situation for CTE. But, you know, I think especially with the players that are taking their own lives, the depression that they're facing, these guys do deserve to get compensated.
The thing that bothers me is the arrogance of the NFL and sort of this mentality of next man up, that if somebody gets hurt, all right, cart him off, bring it. It's a gladiator mentality. Bring in the next guy because we're going to make just as much money with him. That's what bugs me about
Well, the reason you have that next man mentality up is really simple. You ask a lot of 17 to 21-year-old guys, hey, I'll give you a job in the National Football League where you can make $5 million a year, or you can go put your resume in at Company X. These guys are choosing the NFL. And so the NFL is just taking advantage of a lot of these guys getting able to use their athletic ability to make a lot of money in a short space of time. So I agree